one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this meeting has been properly posted in the normal posting places. And we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. We're on to student showcase. Okay. All right, Jake?
Okay, ladies.
Oh, sure. Today. Do you want us to?
Yeah, why don't you guys have a seat here so that they can face the camera?
Yeah, girls, come on down.
Yeah, that's that.
So I'm going to introduce Mrs. Hess. She's one of the co-advisors for National Junior Honor Society, and then she's going to introduce our 5th and 8th graders who are here. We have a brand new Merton Mentors M&M's program for our 5th graders coming to the primary or the intermediate school for the first time, and our 8th graders were in charge of trying to get them acclimated before the school year even started. So I'll let you go for now, Mrs. Hess. Thank you.
I'm Megan Hess. I'm one of the co-advisors of National Junior Honor Society, and we were really excited this year to start up a new program, our 5th grade Mustang mentor program. We had lots of 8th grade mentors who volunteered to help our 5th graders to transition into the intermediate school. Coming to a new school can be kind of scary, so we thought that would be a great program to kind of get started. Now, it was a big responsibility and a lot to be done in a very short amount of time. We had 2 awesome 8th grade leaders who stepped up and said that they wanted to volunteer to be committee leaders. So Brady and Avery are going to tell us a little bit more about what's been going on and why we decided to do this. Avery.
Hi, I'm Avery and this is Brady, and we're the leaders of the Merton Mustang Mentors. And what it is it is a program to help the 4th graders transition into being 5th graders.
So we're basically each mentor, that's us 8th graders, is assigned to about probably 8, 9, 10 5th graders that are coming over to the intermediate, and once a month we eat lunch with them. We talk about how school's going. If they have any questions, basically we're their go-to people, to ask questions. And we also do activities with them, such as like game nights, movies, all those kind of things.
And here are 2 of our 5th graders right here. Grace and Noelle. And they, we had an orientation day the other day, and our goal was for the 5th graders to meet others and to get excited about coming to the intermediate school and knowing their way around the school. We gave them a tour. How was orientation day for you guys?
Well, I thought it was a great day so that I know where all my classes are, and that if I have any questions about the school and what to do, I would ask one of my mentors so I won't get confused during out the school year.
And I like the mentor program because it helped me make new friends because I'm transitioning from a new school, and it just helped me learn my way around the school.
Yeah, I also just transferred a year ago. I moved from Georgia to Merton, and it was a very difficult transition, and carrying people around me made the transition easier, which the mentor program brings to all the 5th graders, the new kids, and just everybody. And
well, I've been here my whole life, so I've went through the 4th to 5th grade transition. But 4th grade was at the intermediate school at that time, so just the 3rd to 4th grade. It was a little hard, because you're the oldest at the primary school, and now you're back down to the youngest. And when you're the youngest, you really look up to the 8th graders, and you really like me, I respected the 8th graders, And I always like wish that they were there to help me, like to guide me around the school, because like sometimes didn't know where I was going. So I always wished like I had like a buddy or like a friend to help me get from place to place. And if I had questions or concerns about how school was going, he would or she would be there to help me. And I think this is nice because it helps them out and has an easier transition to the intermediate school, and also helps them make more friends as well.
Yes, and that's all. Thank you.
Do you mind describing what you and Ms. Weiland did to prepare our 8th grade mentors? Because there was some significant training that went involved preparing the 8th graders. So if you could kind of talk about your involvement, because that was not just a minor piece either.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we knew that we didn't have a lot of time. We decided to do this at the end of like last year. So really we had like the summer to prepare for this big program that was going to be year round. And so Mrs. Weiland and I, we put together 2 days of training for these kids. They put a lot of time in during their summer to come in early in the morning. It was rough. But they came in and we literally walked them through what the orientation day was going to be like. We treated them as if they were the kids. And we led these small groups with our mentors so that they would feel comfortable being able to lead a group on their own. And they did such a nice job. We also talked about like, what do you do if you have a 5th grader who doesn't want to participate or thinks this is stupid or something? So we kind of worked through all of those kinds of things to help them prepare for possible like worst case scenarios, and they just did an absolutely awesome job. So they led all these small group activities. They were hitting balloons around, and there was a lot of physical activity going on, but then there was a lot of like goal setting and stuff like that. So it was just a really great experience.
When did this take place? What time?
It was the night of open house. Yeah, the morning of open house is when the orientation day took place, and the previous 2 days before were the training days for the mentors. So it was fresh in their minds, and they called the 5th graders. They invited them to this orientation. They were like, "I'm so excited to meet you," and the 5th graders, I think, were really, really excited to just get that personal phone call and just be like invited and knowing that they had somebody who like wanted to meet them and was so excited. So just coming to a new school can be scary. So, and they really liked the tour too, to like know where art was going to be and the library and all of those kinds of things. So it was really awesome.
Mrs. Jones, did you see any differences? I mean, because you've transitioned students over to the intermediate school for quite some time.
Right. We compared this to the Wings program at Arrowhead, and frankly, when we were talking about it at lunch in the teacher's lounge, we're kind of like, why haven't we done this sooner? I mean, this is an incredibly awesome, relevant, good program for the kids, and how wonderful to alleviate all their worries and fears and anxieties about coming over. So we couldn't say enough good things about it.
And just being able for some of these 5th graders who have never had classes with some of these other kids to be in a group and, oh, like I might have class with you, or this is somebody who I didn't know before and now I can call them a friend. So it just helped them to meet lots of new people, and for a new student coming into a new school and knowing nobody, like going into the first day and being like, oh, you were in my group, and so I just thought it was really great. It went really well. We'll continue it, hopefully.
So, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for Any questions for our kiddos?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Yes,
you.
moms, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow.
Okay. We are to approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes on Monday, August 29th, 2016 at 7:30 p.m.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there additions, corrections? All in favor, then say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, we've got the approval of the financial report and bill list.
I'll make a motion to approve direct deposit 000553641 through 000 for $1,177.99. Direct deposit number 900042254 through 900042302 for $24,369.05. Direct deposit 000553639 through 000553640 for $2,989.68. Direct deposit 900042184 through 900042253 for $108,969.16. Direct deposit 000553644 through 000553645 for $370.20. And direct deposit 900042305 through 900042408 for $142,668.34. Wire transfers, wire number 201600130 through 201600142 for $5,943.23. Accounts payable, check number 51581 through 51630 for $165,503.89. Credit card transactions 916 through 916, $84,725.14. ACH direct deposit 1617-00017 through 1617-00029 for $1,691.13.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions, concerns?
All my questions are answered.
And did you see my answers too?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But I'll
Okay, all in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, delegations to be heard. So I got quiet. Here. Nobody asked to speak, so we are on to administrator's report.
Sure, we do not have any donations this month, but we do have a couple personnel actions that I would like to bring to the board. Two different motions, three different personnel actions. Heather Parnot has submitted her letter of resignation. Thank Heather for her 3 years of service to us. Based on the circumstances and the personal nature, the superintendent is recommending to waive the $250 liquidated damage fees. So just looking for a motion to approve the letter of resignation of Heather Parnot.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of resignation for Heather Parnell.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions? All in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Okay, and to replace Heather, the administration is recommending Carrie Roselip from as a replacement for Heather. Carrie's coming to us from several years of instructional assistant position in the Oconomowoc area school district. So worked at Silver Lake Intermediate School, so lots of experience to bring to Merton. And then we also had one late addition, which we hired late, which Jay and Lori hired very late in August, that we missed on our last board meeting, and that was Kelly Munkle, parent of the district, who we are excited to bring on board as our team as a part-time IA in the special education area. So just looking for a motion from the board to approve the letters of appointment for Carrie Roselip and Kelly Munkle as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2016-17 letter of appointments for Carrie Roselip and Kelly Munkle as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions? All in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, information?
Yep, we'd like to showcase our new website to the board. If you guys wanted to come on over. John, you mind getting the lights there for us? All right, well, this is the one item that I wanted to bring to you guys this evening and kind of give you a little sneak peek and say thank you to some people. Well, Phil's been very, very active in it. We had Mike and Jay were there. We had Dawn Baumgartner, Jim Binney, and lots of other little bits and pieces of feedback. Over the last couple of years, we've been looking at and saying, hey, do we need to update our website? And we finally came to the conclusion, yes, we do. So we've worked with CMS for Schools, which is a CISA 6 extension out of their CISA area, and we are very, very pleased to present to you basically an introduction and a basic layout of our new website. Now, we've been at this probably since April, even March, maybe. Lots of meetings, lots of information. Hey, what do you want? What do you like? We took a look at a lot of different other schools' websites and hopefully put a bunch of them together that we really felt would really model some great navigation, great information, and hopefully be something that's real attractive, because we know that our website is a source of information for our families as we put all sorts of important things there, but ultimately it's also a recruiting tool to hopefully allow people who are interested in coming to the Merton Community School District easy access to information and some real nice feel to what it is that we want to showcase. So basically the time frames is we are showcasing this to the board tonight, and we are going to continue to put and fill in information. So right now you're just going to see some basic skeleton stuff, and I'll navigate in a little bit, but what we'll continue to do is fill it with information. CISA 6 has transferred, I think made the transfer right away in the beginning of September, over to from the old website to the new website. So, so we've got a lot of information to continue to update and to put in there prior to it going live. So our tentative timelines would be for us to showcase this to our PTO on November 2nd at their PTO meeting, to kind of get some feedback, and then ultimately, shortly after that, make it kind of live for our public. So for about 2 months, we will have it right on our front page. We'll keep the old website up, and then to say, hey, for those of you who want to check out our new website, here is the new website, so people can kind of get used to where everything is. So kind of making sure they've got two safety blankets. One is if they need to find something, it's on the old website, but ultimately trying to transition people to the new website too as well. So our goal is to go live January 1st, is to pull down the old website and to hopefully something like this moving forward starting January 1st. So that seems pretty consistent with the recommendations. Say, hey, give your parents and your community a couple months to get used to it, and then basically pull the old one away. So what we've really been spending a lot of time on is navigation, right? Because we want to make sure that things are really easy to find. And you're going to find that there are going to be things that are redundant. Like, yes, if you want to find the first grade team, it's probably located in 3 or 4 different areas, which is just fine, because again, we want information very, very easily accessible to our families as well as any people who might be searching for information. So what you're looking at here is basically our front page, and we will have some static things. Basically, you know, these are just some very, and obviously there would be descriptions, and we would clean this up and put some new pictures on, but we would have some sliding pictures, and then ultimately we've got some more static things, so some big announcements. Then we have our calendar that we would put on. Again, this is just on our main phase. You've got calendar, and then you've got some other announcement titles as you go. So what we like about it is it's real easy to navigate. On the top and the bottom, we've got our icons, you know, whether it's search, contact us, you know, Twitter, Facebook, food service, and this is our Skyward app from that standpoint too as well. So you will find hopefully very easy navigation as we go through. The other piece is obviously we've got some mega menus that drop down, and again, this is kind of what we continue to play with, is to make sure is, hey, what makes sense? What do people want to know? Where do they want to get information? And we took a look at some things and said, don't need that anymore. Nope, we need it, whatever it might be. So we've got the district, and we've got these, you know, we've got to fill in where our curriculum's going to be. Schools, what do we want for schools? Then ultimately we've got our students, and believe it or not, our students are probably some of the highest end users of our website. They go there, that's where teachers put their Google Classroom, that's where a ton of information is. We've got directory, and this is where we would be putting all of our staffs, obviously the whole staff directory. You've got administration, primary staff. You will see 4K, first grade, second grade, third grade. We've asked all of our staff members, our teaching staff, to produce new websites, and we've also asked our grade level teams and subjects and departments to create new websites. So those are all going to be ready to go, and those actually are on our old website too. We've already uploaded those to get those going. And then ultimately we've got a family tab. I guess, Phil, and you know, this is probably this piece about what those 6 main headers were probably some of the biggest pieces of conversation about, you know, how much is too much, how do you make it easy, how do you condense, to really make the flow of it look very, very nicely. Now, the other thing you're going to
How do we make the different schools identifiable but still feel like one common community?
Yep, exactly. So one of the things you're going to find is, the recommendation is you will see, here's the primary school one, for instance. You're going to see a common feel. Okay? It is a district website, so you will see, this is the primary school. Now, you're going to say it looks the same as it did before. Believe me, we will just have specific pictures, specific announcements, detailed to the primary school. We just needed some placeholders. So Dawn just put those in and Jim just put those in. But you'll notice at the primary school, we only have 4 buckets and not 6 when you think of your mega menus and things. So we've had a lot of conversation about, okay, what goes here? Then you've got all the primary flyers, student information, directory, and families. And what we continue to do is, obviously this will all be loaded with information as we move forward. But you will find, and one thing we wanted to do was, this looks very similar to our district page. Obviously we'll have different pictures like I mentioned before, but different announcements because it'll be specific. The calendar will be specific to the primary school. And then obviously a very, very similar feel. That was one of the goals that we had, was to really make it look uniformed and consistent with our district pages. Now, we did give autonomy to our grade level teams to create, because you can do a little bit more things and be a little bit more creative working through Google Sites and some of their Google training that they've had too as well. So that's kind of the basic outline. And you can see at the primary school, obviously you've got access to those 6 big buckets of the district page too. And obviously lots of different ways, because this is an active link to the school district. You can get to any of the pieces that would be right on top as well. So I guess some of the things that we're most excited about, one is it looks really cool. I mean, we're real excited about the way it turned out from a logistic-wise, logo-wise. The other piece is we're excited to get some things updated, you know, give it a really fresh look, but ultimately continue to revive and put some content out there too that might need to be updated. The other piece, if you're familiar with our mobile website right now, it's not very easy, it's clunky. This is what's called a responsive site. So it will adapt to the phone or your device or your mobile device that you have. So it is responsive. So it's not going to view desktop version and you're like, holy cow, it's small and you're blowing things up. It should automatically be responsive to your phone. So again, so we'll be kind of filling the buckets. The goal is from an administrative side and from a tech side to have everything ready to go by November 2nd for the PTO meeting, put it live, get some feedback, hey Ron, this doesn't make sense, etc., for a launch date of January 1st. So it's as simple as a website can be. We know it's not that simple because we've had some big discussions about what it looks like and where things go. Any questions about the site at all? I'll share this with the board as well, so you guys can kind of play around with it too. But again, we will be showcasing this and making it live for our community right around the beginning of November, so they can give us feedback too.
It's kind of similar to Arrowhead.
Yep, Arrowhead just updated theirs too as well, correct. Very similar template. They obviously use the same organization as we do, which is a very
You're
common.
missing the sports category.
Right. It's on there, it's on the students, but our first picture won't be the football field.
Okay.
From 8 years ago, because it doesn't look like that now. That's for sure.
Are the, you mentioned, and you can see it here, that you can source things from different pages, the same information or similar information, but the information only resides one time, right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
It's all cross-linked as opposed to replicated.
Good.
What he said.
You don't have to update everything.
No, you update one page, it's
one update.
one update, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And now our task is to assign and making sure that it's an update and continuing, like what are we going to continue to refresh, how often are we going to update those pictures and the front
One
and
of the
things
things
like
I was going to ask is how often do you plan to update the pictures?
Well, that would be probably hopefully bi-monthly, because it's with this and with the bigger pictures, it's not like you can go with a phone. You've got to bring like a real camera in. because of the size of it and the pixels. Bill, jump in whenever you want to. Exhausting. I'm nailing it. I'm nailing it. Just because for the smaller pictures, like for instance, I guess it just doesn't, for Jay's picture, for instance, if we go up to schools here, and the intermediate school, it's not terrible, but if we go intermediate school, Jay took this picture with his phone, I do believe, right, Jay?
Yes, I did.
So it turned out really good, but if it would be a really close picture, of, you know, a typical picture, then it would look a little fuzzy. Because when I tried it, I'm like, come on, let's just do that. And they put one in there, I'm like, yeah, that's not good. It wouldn't be a good look. So we need to, that's when you bring in somebody with a lens. And we also had Network Photography has said that they would take some pictures too as well, but we always want to make sure that they're fresh. So we're real excited.
Yeah, well, and we had talked about having network photography come in a couple of times a year.
Yep.
But even at that, you know, if they take 20 pictures, you're only putting 3 or 4 on at a time. So, you know, you get, just having them come in once, you get, you know, many months worth of content.
Mm-hmm. But for our announcements, we're hoping to get student pictures or some sort of a picture that kind of replicates that. Stay away from clip art and all those other things that sometimes we've adapted to.
Do you have the family directory in there?
Yep.
too?
Yep.
Well, the family directory, I don't.
That I don't think so, because family directory is linked directly through Skyward. So you have to have, yeah, we don't put it out there. I'm sorry, yes, we do not. That goes through Skyward.
No, our family directory is only moderately useful because you have to explicitly opt in, like during registration,
Yes.
I think, and not everyone does, and so it's partially useful.
It's on Skyward. It's on Skyward. So that's our site. So thanks for listening. We're excited about it. Thanks.
Okay, we're on to committee reports, and we've got the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met at the beginning of last week. Talked about, it was a pretty straight to the point, short meeting. The first thing that I reviewed with them is just where we're at as far as food service goes. I'm sure all of you know by now that for the 15-16 year, we did have to do a transfer from our general operating fund to cover a deficit in our food service fund. The transfer ended up, our total revenue shortage was about $11,000, but the amount that we had to transfer from the general fund was only $6,200. The rest of that balance is made up by deferred revenue, so it'll show up in 16-17. So basically where we're at right now is we know that something has to be done, something has to change. And now it's just kind of sitting down and figuring out what that change has to be. We're in our last contract year with Avians. If we go out for bid, we have to do it by probably around February or March. But there are other options out there as well that we need to consider. So I actually, at my conference I was just at, I sat in on an awesome session about food service and dealing with deficits and how to turn it around and different options that are available to school districts. So my plan is to hit the ground running and start figuring out what those options for us could be, whether it's contracting again with Avians or another company, sharing a food service director or manager with another district, or just bringing it in-house and doing it ourselves. So definitely some options that we have to look at. The next thing I reviewed with them is just where we're at on the 2016-17 budget since I first presented our preliminary budget. So and don't look at my sheet and try and add up numbers, because that's what Ron did right away. He's like, these don't match, and I'm like, they're not supposed to. So I'm just giving a summary. So if you look at it, I gave where our expenses and revenues were when I presented the preliminary, and then where they're at currently. And then I just tried to give the big areas of change. So, I mean, the biggest area in expenses is when I put through the preliminary budget, we hadn't yet approved the $128,000 of fund balance use, so that's in there. Our open enrollment costs are increasing by $110,000. I'm adding in a $30,000 operating transfer for food service. I think that may be a little bit on the high end, but I'd rather come in a little bit high just so we're protected. And then
On the opposite side of that, our special education budgeted transfer is, I'm projecting to decrease a little bit. And then on the revenue side, our open enrollment revenue is increasing by $112,000. Our payment for services, which is basically the amount that we charge Swallow for summer school, I'm projecting that to go down just because the number of kids that came over from Swallow this year were a lot less than last year. And then our title money is, I over budgeted, I think in the preliminary a little bit for our title money, so I adjusted that to the actual claim amount, so it's a difference of about $12,000. Or $11,500, and then we had a lot of liquidated damages that we collected for 15-16, so that's why our 900 revenues were higher, so I bumped that budget down too. Any questions on that?
So Sarah, we're going to finalize a budget because we've got a couple big pieces coming up here.
Yep, so tomorrow my plan is to do everything membership, so I'll get in our third Friday count, enter that, report it in DPI, because that's probably, I would argue, our biggest number out of the 3 that are remaining. October 1, we'll get our equalized values, and then October 15th, we'll get our final state aid number, and then I'll present a final budget, and we'll adopt our levy at the October 24th board meeting. Then lastly, we reviewed fund balance. So as you guys know, we have the $128,000 that's already approved. And then we did have approximately $170,000 surplus from 15-16 that Ron will talk about that, 'cause it's going to go hand in hand with facilities. But if you take a look at what our fund balance percentages is in comparison to what our expenditures are, we're really high right now. So as it is right now, we're at about a 29% fund balance after you take out the $128,000 and then the $170,000 of the surplus from 15-16. That puts us at about 24.5% fund balance. And then I gave a couple different options of, okay, if we authorize X amount of dollars for additional fund balance use, where would that put our percentage? So administration kind of thinks that the sweet spot would be about $200,000. That would put us at 22% fund balance.
And the reason, understand that our budgets continue to decrease, and that's why that percentage, looks bigger when you have your remaining fund balance from a year ago with a less amount of overall budget based on decreasing students and revenue limit. That's why that percentage, and that's why we are having the board consider, and that's why we talked to the finance team about considering spending some of that fund balance towards some facility projects. So, and then the direction was hey, let's see what those facility projects are, and then we'll bring that back to the finance team and the entire board to see if that's something that they wanted to consider using with the fund balance.
Yep, and that's, make a list before. The request was to come up with a list before we really just say, hey, let's go with this number, which I completely agree with. But we have a great 10-year facility plan, and I think, and I wasn't able to be at the facility committee on Friday, but I'm assuming you guys had a good conversation, so.
We have a list.
That's all I got for finance committee. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay, we've got the facility committee.
So kind of a segue from Sarah with the finance side. What you have in front of you basically is some facility projects and technology projects that the administration, working hand in hand with John Netteshine and Jim Buening, as well as the principals, and Lori too in the special ed area, to really see what are some of those facility projects and needs as we are looking forward into the future. And as Sarah referenced, we have a 10-year facility plan that we continue to knock projects off, which we're very excited that we've been able to do these within our budget and yet continue to put dollars aside in Fund 41 as well as Fund 46. So the conversation around the facility team was administration created a list. We spent a good hour and a half kind of talking about these things. We have another meeting set up in about next week, actually I think October 4th or October 5th, to then do a walkthrough and kind of bring the facility.
Probably the 6th.
The 6th?
Yeah, was it the 6th?
Thursday the 6th? Okay, the 6th. To then kind of highlight some of these areas that we are considering too as well. I know these prices and projects they're educated guesses by professionals. Okay, so just today we had Illingsworth in taking a look at hey, what would it take for us to put rooftop units on. We've had some structural engineer advice. So we're kind of working through a lot of the processes to get bids, just tentative bids, so we can begin to plan approximately how much some of these projects will cost. So all of these things on here are projects that, some of them added, like for instance, we didn't have the ceiling grids on our 10-year plan. We didn't have the locker replacements on our 10-year plan. But you will see a lot of this that does reflect that 10-year plan with some additional things as well. The reason why, and if the board wants to kind of update that 10-year plan at any time, we certainly can. We set that up probably about 2 years ago as part of our Fund 46.
So it's an 8-year plan?
Right now we're at year 8. Actually, probably back in 13, wasn't it? 13, 14.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So, but the nice thing is we're starting to really look through that. Some things continue to get kicked along. For instance, our phone service. That's something that we really feel strongly about. Hey, it's beyond the life expectancy, and it's not supported. So we're kind of living on borrowed time, I should say, for a couple of those things. So I guess what you have is the list of ideas, and we're going to meet on the 6th and with the facility team, kind of talk a little bit more. We will have some more details too as well. John continues to work with some of the vendors about how much would this cost, how much would that cost, so we continue to refine this list too as well. So I guess then we can talk a little bit more about it as a board in the next section.
It's probably worth taking another look at the 10-year plan and remaking it a 10-year plan. In the next years, sometime this year. It doesn't have to be like this, this month or whatever. But
right.
Just to try and make sure that we're keeping that an actual 10-year plan and continue to look that far ahead.
Well, and the way the 10-year plan kind of works is, so now as we're replacing our roofs and updating our roofs, so now we can take that and add that to 20 years from now when it needs to. So as
for some of them, yeah.
Yeah. So as some things get knocked off the list, then they just get put on again because they're recurring things that need to be put on again.
But the one thing I want to really, and it's been great, the board has worked really, really hard as well as John and the admin team. We're in really, really good shape. I mean, our wish list here is around $625,000. And we're talking about possibly, from an administrative side, recommending the use of $374,000. So we are really looking forward and taking care of the business that needs to underneath our revenue limit, given the parameters that are still with the state budgets. Now, like everybody, I run into some people from Robert W. Baird, Ron, it's a budget year, it's a biennial, but still, I still feel very strongly with the fiscal shape that we're in, the plan, and some of the vision and the outlook that we have as it relates to facilities and technology.
Okay, we're going to keep moving. Principal's report.
It's all on the screen. So Mike and I are going to make this as brief as possible, and I want to start out by thanking the board for your support. Because of that, staff was ready, the buildings were ready, the kids were ready, the families were ready. That picture there happens to be our 7th and 8th grade staff all dressed up in their Merton shirts with New Year's Eve hats on and party favors and so on, because it was Happy New Year, so they all came out and greeted the kids out on the first day of school. And then the fin underneath there, the family information nights, if you click on that link, and I'll send this out to you guys later, it will show the presentations that were done the first full week of school for 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th grade families. They came in and found out a little bit more about expectations and curriculum and all that sort of stuff. So that was kind of fun. And then there's some pictures. So up on the left is that same picture I showed before, and then Mr. Pomeroy has the kids out doing some archery stuff. The one on the bottom left happens to be kids reading, and then Ron already stole my thunder with the bleachers. The bleachers were finished on Thursday of two weeks ago. And on Friday, we started out the school day by making sure that all of our kids would fit in the bleachers with the staff, so when we have assemblies, we can actually have assemblies here. And there was still room. If you haven't seen it, it is spectacular. It looks really, really cool.
The kids talk about the new gym.
Yeah.
They really, really.
The paint job that's in there, everything, it just looks fantastic. Just some more pictures up in the upper left. Mrs. Vieira, that's Kahoot being used by, I know you found out about Kahoot at your conference. Mrs. Opperman using Kahoot. It's a interactive game, in this case Spanish vocabulary. And then upper right is Mary Iwanski and her palette projecting. Mr. Nedschein, thanks for your help with that. Mr. Russ, you as well. Then in the lower left, we have some kids doing a science experiment in 5th grade. The 6th graders got their new Chromebooks. They're pretty fired up about that. Mr. Vinny worked some magic to get the Chromebooks in earlier than what we were supposed to receive them. There were some issues with the manufacturer, and he just kept plugging away, and it worked out really well. And then I think the next picture is Student Senate. Mrs. Nimchek and Ms. Conert are in charge of that, and they actually sponsored, were the sponsors of our 7th and 8th grade dance that we had this last Friday. And then here is our first assembly. We didn't have any bleachers in the intermediate school gym, so Jay went to Mike and said, we're going to have this assembly together with all of the kids from the primary school and the intermediate school. So Ms. Conert took a couple of pictures for us. We had 800 kids on the floor in the gym, and I'll let Mike talk a little bit about that because it took me a little bit of work.
I was an unbeliever.
He was a non-believer. There was no way this was going to work.
We met and I said, I'm at a 5, Jay. You're going to have to really work at me to get me to an 8 or a 9. So in about 5 minutes, he got me to a 6.3. And then 5 minutes later, I was pretty solid 8. And by the time I left, I said, nothing to it. We get it done. And it was pretty sweet.
And as Mr. Posick says, that's better than what Mike feels about his own presentations.
Thank you, Ron.
I gave credit to Jim.
It came off really sweet.
So the link there is to the assembly. It was talking about being a bucket filler, and actually one of the primary school students wrote a story based upon the assembly that we had. So that was kind of cool.
Except I want to read it to the whole school, but she pasted the pages so close together that I can't read the words that are in the margin. So Mr. Alshire is going to help her edit it a little bit so I can read it. Otherwise, it's awesome. She's a new student, and Patrick said it really hit her. So I just want to show you the new science curriculum that's going on for. Mary Wansky put together a schedule of when we're going to be doing the Project Lead the Way and all the new science modules. So Kate Waller made a big poster. So I've got the poster in the teacher's lounge so people can come in and see when everybody's teaching what and when the different modules are going to be launched. So those are just pieces of the schedule that I included in my s'more. So parents can get an idea of who's teaching, who's receiving what kind of instruction when throughout the course of the year. And when Mary's going to be working with groups. So it's really a pretty slick schedule to take a look at. And speaking of science, so Ms. Losick's first grade class testing out parachutes. It's a far cry from science and Project Lead the Way in 7th or 8th grade, but this is how it starts. And kindergarten, Ms. Iwanski was with kindergarten today, and they were talking about data analysis as 5Kers. And Mary said, what's data analysis? Well, you draw pictures about the stuff you're counting, and then it'll make a difference in what kind of questions you ask. And she just said, wow, amazing. And this is the first time around, so just showing that. And first day, if you've been a part of the first day on the primary school playground, it's just short of Mardi Gras, but that could be one heck of a fundraiser if we put our mind to it. But it was a great day, lots of cameras, lots of smiles and hugs, and of course everybody looks wonderful like those two cutie pies right there. So, like Jay said, it was one of the best starts in my years here. It was just terrific, and the assembly just was the cherry on the top. So. I had to throw this one in. You got to be proud of this guy, right? There was all the kids back. Now you notice the engagement and the control of the children on the gym floor. It was 7th and 8th graders. We had 4 Kers with 8th graders and 5 Kers with 7th graders. We had 3rd and 4th way in the back. We had 5th with 1st and 6th with 2nd. It was pretty sweet. So, but Jay loves selfies, and that's how we wrapped up today. I had trying to get principals of the year, parents bid on these in the auctions at trivia night. Well, I kind of ran out of school year. So Elise joined me today. She's one of our 4th graders, and she did a great job. She did the announcements today. I think I've lost my job. She did it without a wrinkle. She did a terrific job, and so yeah, that was as we wrapped up the day. So it was a good time.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chang, for that picture. Great shot. Great shot.
Okay, we do have a discussion item for new business. Is this somewhere we're ready to have discussion?
You know, I just wanted to put it out there, just in case there was something that came out of the facility team that, you know, we wanted to have a whole group about, but the projects that are presented there are ones that, you know, doesn't need to be fixed tomorrow. So it's stuff that we continue to be proactive about with some of the preventative stuff, but obviously what we would be looking for probably in the October from the finance or the facility team is probably looking for some more specific direction, because, for instance, if we want to whether we want to do roofs or whether we want to do air handling units or rooftop units, that does require quite a bit of work of us putting the bid proposals together, setting up contractor meetings and things like that. So before we go ahead and do that, we'd like to get some go-ahead from the school board to say this is a project that we'd like to continue to move forward with. So probably maybe next time, Dean, probably more of a discussion item, would be an action item unless something comes like, you know, we have to do it now, and obviously we would bring that to the board for an action not to exceed if that was the case, but I don't anticipate that. It just would be, hey, this is what we'd like. Is everybody on board with us doing A, B, C, and D? So.
Okay. We are to future meetings and agenda items.
October 24th. Everybody's good with that. I think we said that last one. The big piece there will be setting the 2016-17 levy and finalizing the budget. Our school showcase, we are going to be bringing in our 4th graders to highlight some of our STEM programming so far. So that'll be from the primary school. So the budget will be the big ticket item.
Any other agenda items?
I guess not for the future meeting, but maybe as retroactively as part of your information for this month. Is there an update on the intermediate school play set?
Oh,
when that's going on?
Sure. I mean, talk about that.
Good news there.
Good news there. Yeah. We are hoping next week. John, did you hear anything from today?
Yeah, they called me today. We're scheduled for start install this Sunday, and I spoke with Don Cull. It's going to be our excavator, and we're going to touch base on Wednesday and perhaps get the site prepped Thursday or Friday this week. So right now we are looking like early next week.
Early next week, and it should take about 5-6 days to install. So we're excited about that.
Good. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
I think I'd like to see a comparison for results between the various feeder schools and statewide.
Yes.
And then also once we if we identify the areas where we're going to be.
Sure. I would anticipate that the question was about the forward exam. The state has not released publicly any of the forward results, so as soon as that becomes available, we will be sharing that with the board. Right now, now, I would anticipate we have, both Mike and Jay are creating school improvement plans. They have teams, which will be formally presented at the school board meeting in November for us to kind of showcase those as part of the principal reports. But we can do that in a couple different ways, Randy, whether you want to do it here or whether we wanted to have a workshop where we can kind of review some things and as it relates to what the data is telling us and what are some of the responses as a school district and as a staff that we're doing. We certainly can. So the 24th, it might be out by then. We could probably have some discussions about that. We know the school report card is going live at the end of October, and according to Michael Thompson, Deputy Superintendent, the forward scores will be going public right around that same time. Later this week, our students will be bringing home their individual progress reports from the forward, and I'll be sending out an email to all of our families. And again, that basically is for our current students, 4th through 8th grade, who will be kind of getting that communication from me as well. So we'll see what the other feeder schools have, meeting with them tomorrow. And we know the state average is lower than typical, but we'll see how we compare basically to our neighbors.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, then say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.